Discipline creates beauty. The peaceful romantic moments people crave don't happen by accident. They're the fruit of consistency and discipline. So the goal isn't to be perfect. It's really just about being present and being persistent. So it's about being present, intentional, and disciplined with the little things. God meets us in the mundane, and consistency is how we honor him with our daily lives. There's nothing more beautiful than this present moment. All right, you guys, welcome to the Talk More with Laura podcast. I actually just got done recording an episode with Tyler. We're doing 2 today because I'm going to be out of town next week. So trying to get ahead on some things. Going to the lake with my family. So yeah, I'm super excited about today's topic because it's really good, you guys. I love this topic, and it actually kind of feeds into what I was talking about in my previous episode with Tyler. So might even do like a part 2. This might be like a part 2 to that to go into more detail. Before we get into it though, silly goofy thing of the week. I was going to share this on the previous episode, but I was like, I'll save it because we're doing 2 today. But I actually went to PetSmart this week because I'm getting a dog, as many of you guys know. So I'm going to the lake, and then literally the day after I get back, I'm driving to go get my golden retriever puppy. And so I'm doing like a bunch of, I guess, shopping and like browsing around of what I need. I've never owned a dog before. I know zip about crates and everything. And it was just the funniest experience going into PetSmart because obviously, when else would I go to PetSmart? I haven't been since I was 10 years old with my dad when we had our dog. And so it was just like so nostalgic walking in there, and just the smells and the I was looking around and I was like, this place is like Walmart for dogs, in like not a good way. But there's like gerbils to my right, and there's like snakes to my left, and it was just, I don't know, I was just giggling the whole time. And I went up to the worker because I was like trying to figure out what dog food to get. And I know that there's so much out there. And so I just asked. I was like, I grabbed the crate and then I was just going to grab some food and then leave. So what was going to be a 10-minute trip to PetSmart ended up being like hour and a half because I walked out to him and I was like, hey, I'm getting a puppy next week. What do you recommend for puppies? Like, what brand is the best? And he was like, so that's like a really loaded question. And so he goes into all this detail about like the brands not to get, what brands to get, and like food. So really like a clean diet for a dog, just like a clean diet for a human is best. Same with the dog. So he's going into how he like hand makes his dog's food, and he gives it like Greek yogurt and watermelon and peanut butter and like all these things. And then we go over to the refrigerated section. He's showing me all these the dog foods that are like best are the ones that are refrigerated, but those are super expensive. And anyways, it was like information overload, and I was like so overstimulated. I was like sweating in PetSmart. But he's like, yeah, don't give it tennis balls because it's gonna ruin their teeth, and don't do this. He's like, sorry, I know I'm overwhelming you, but anyway, long story short, it was a crazy experience. I'm definitely glad I went. I mean, he was super helpful, but I was certainly very overwhelmed. But I will be doing PetSmart training, like puppy training, every Sunday. I signed up, so I'm sure I'll learn much more. But I ordered like a new vacuum and dog bowls and all the things on Amazon yesterday. I spent so much money. So it's going to be a journey, and we're buckling up. But that was definitely just like, it was just such a funny experience, you guys. Like, this man lived for PetSmart. I'm like, you need to give this guy a raise. He is just like really into his job, and that's amazing. I love that. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. So I am going to talk about romanticizing your life. And I feel like this whole topic of romanticizing your life is very trending right now. Like there's so many reels and TikToks about romanticizing little things. Like, I feel like a lot of people will make reels about, romanticizing your coffee in the morning, or like the ambiance of your living room and morning light coming in and lighting a candle and, being outside with the chirping birds, like things like that, those little moments that people can capture like with their phone. Basically, it's just this whole idea of romanticizing the little things in life and making them a big deal, because that's kind of how God like intended life to be. And I want to kind of get into like why that is, and why romanticizing your life and staying disciplined, how these all kind of tie together. And so the title of this episode is Romanticizing Your Life and Staying Disciplined, and how beauty and routine build the life that you want. Romanticizing your life isn't about the aesthetics. So when we think about that kind of social media-esque idea of romanticizing your life, I'm not really talking about that, because I want to get into it and like what it really means. So it's about being present, intentional, and disciplined with the little things. God meets us in the mundane, and consistency is how we honor him with our daily lives. So I'm going to break this down into a few parts and then get into just some encouragement for you guys at the very end. But we'll start with number one, which is what romanticizing your life actually means. So at its core, it's really about being present, being grateful, and being intentional. So romanticizing really means that you are slowing down enough to see what God is trying to show you. Because oftentimes what we can do, and the temptation is to stay busy. And I know for me, especially, I really struggle with I think like for me, the way I kind of cope with things, or the way I maybe deal with hardships, is staying busy. Like I feel like that's kind of my vice in a weird way, is like being a busy person, filling myself with productivity. I feel like oftentimes I can link my, what I'm feeling or my happiness or my success to something else. Like I think that is certainly a big lie that a lot of us can fall into in our culture, especially living in America, because we're crazy. But when you romanticize your life, it really, it's not this cutesy thing. It does have a spiritual meaning behind it, because it means that you're practicing mindfulness, you're practicing staying in the moment, and you're practicing noticing your life and noticing things. And you're slowing down enough to see those details. And I think like I'll give some scripture to back it up. In Ecclesiastes, it talks about there's nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also, that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in it all. This is God's gift to man. So it's even telling us that, God gives the sun and food and coffee and the grass and like all of these things in life that are so beautiful. But I think many times we can always look to someone else's grass and be like, oh, I want that. Or like every time we reach something, we always want more. That's just kind of how we're wired and how our culture is wired. But I think there's so much beauty in really realizing that, there's nothing more beautiful than this present moment. And I know that might just sound like woo-woo and like, oh, like just life is beautiful and love everything. Like, but I mean, it really is true though. It's like God's really trying to show you something in the moment. And, I think like slowing down has a big kind of tie into this first point of what it actually means to its core. It's really just noticing and taking a moment to find joy in things that maybe, aren't so big. Like I think a lot of times social media can make us feel unhappy because we compare our car to somebody else's or what somebody else has that we don't. Clothes, materialistic things, a boyfriend, a fiance, whatever it is. And that's why I think romanticizing your life might only be possible if you are not on your phone all the time and you are taking a moment to just slow down and be grateful for little things, because truly that is like what it's all about. So number 2 is discipline creates beauty. The peaceful romantic moments people crave don't happen by accident. They're the fruit of consistency and discipline. I get a lot of questions on my Instagram about discipline and like how I create consistency in my life. And I think consistency and discipline is biblical too. Like there are things in the Bible that talk about hard work and perseverance and how God honors that. Like when you are disciplined in your work and when you are keeping your head down and you are working hard, whatever you do, it doesn't have to be anything specific. It could be, if you love to garden or if you are working in accounting, like it literally doesn't matter. Anything that you love to do, if you're doing it unto the Lord and you're giving him glory and you're working hard at it, that is going to be blessed. And so if you have that consistent mindset. So for me, discipline is found just in my day-to-day because I have to be kind of structured with the way that I work because don't have a boss. So I'm very naturally kind of have to be disciplined on and hard on myself in a way because nobody else is doing that for me. And so for me, discipline and consistency is just habits. Like anything else, in the previous episode, we kind of talked about gratitude and how that takes practice. The same thing applies here where, discipline and consistency takes practice and it takes forming habits. So for me, discipline is waking up early and keeping my house clean, making my bed, spending, quiet time in the morning, time off my phone. And then I kind of get into my own personal work and then end with, maybe something that brings me joy, whether that's hanging out with Tyler or going on a walk or hanging out with a friend. But what I'm trying to say is discipline creates beauty and perseverance is honored. So in scripture talks a lot about discipline and hard work, and in Proverbs 31, when it talks about a godly woman, it talks about how she watches over the affairs of her household and doesn't eat the bread of idleness. She's organized, diligent, and strong. In Hebrews, it talks about how no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So discipline is uncomfortable, but deeply rewarding. It produces peace, which is often what we're actually craving. So a lot of times peace, happiness, love, joy are really what's the word I'm looking for? A product of your present efforts. And so I think, and that just comes... It really just is a daily choice. I think if you're really trying to make working out or a morning routine a part of your daily practice, it takes practice. It's like anything else. And so I would just encourage anybody that is trying to be more disciplined with working out or more disciplined in any area of your life. I would encourage you to just set a weekly goal of, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to make my bed right away. I'm going to drink my coffee and then I'm going to go to the gym. Just make it small things and just stick with that for a few days and see what happens. Because I think every day or every person is different when it comes to discipline. Whatever that looks like to you or whatever goal you have, you can easily implement that because we're creatures of habit and we want to have things that come naturally to us, but that takes practice too. And so number 3 says routines that reflect reverence. So oftentimes we separate routines from spirituality, but God is in the structure. He created order. He created rhythms in life. He created seasons, days and nights, and he calls us to steward our time, our bodies, and energy. A well-lived life, one where you can care for your body, your mind, and your spirit, and it's all a form of reverence and respect. So these routines that we talk about in life, routines, disciplines, anything, any word you want to use to call it, it's all kind of interconnected into one idea and one thought, because these aren't new concepts that we created as humans. They all come back to God and kind of what the earth was designed to do, because again, there are different seasons. Like there's fall and winter and spring and summer, and there's days and there's nights, and there's seasons for, crying, and there's seasons for weeping, and then there's seasons for joy and dancing. And that's why God created the sun and the moon, because not everything is supposed to be so, the same all the time. There's structure around certain things. And I think that's kind of why, these rhythms of life are all pointed to that, and a routine and a practice is a choice. And so we're just kind of like following with those routines. The Lord, so it says in Genesis that God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work and keep it. So from the beginning, we were designed to tend to things and cultivate beauty through intentional effort. So there's a lot of stories and like ways that we can view how we're supposed to view things, how we're supposed to tend to things and cultivate beauty through it. You can kind of apply this really into any aspect of your life. It could be your work or your friendships or whatever it is. But I do think that, these concepts of routines and concepts of rhythms are just a way to point you back to God, because it does make sense. I mean, it's like, there's a time to work and then rest. Like that's why there's the Sabbath. Like there's a day, whatever day that is for you. Maybe it doesn't have to be a Sunday. It could be any day. God's calling you to rest and to just like sit in everything that he has created, whether that be like going on a walk, or if you live by the beach, like going by the water or whatever it is. Just having those moments of, just being still. And then there's moments of hard work. So I think it's like you don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to overstep and overwork, like, or on the other side of that, overstep with your resting and you're being lazy. Like there's such a balance in these things where you are working diligently hard throughout your week and then you rest. Like that's why God created it that way. And I think like there are moments where I can overwork myself, and I definitely feel it like on a spiritual level. I'm like, whoa, I do not feel like myself. I don't feel like I'm doing what God's asking me to do. Or on the flip side of that, I think it's just being really in tune with like yourself and what God is speaking to you. And so number 4, this is the last one, and then I'll end it with some other points. But number 4 is how to stay consistent when motivation fades. Again, I get this question so many times, but I really feel like at this point, I don't even really would say I'm motivated anymore. I'm just like consistent because of the habits I've formed. And I'm talking more about like my working out schedule and the way I eat. I think a lot of people ask me about that. Discipline starts where motivation ends. So I think like just that act of being persistent in your efforts feeds into just being consistent. And now you don't really have to think so much about what you're doing because it's just a part of your day. So the goal isn't to be perfect. It's really just about being present and being persistent. And when you don't feel like showing up, remember why you started. I feel like even now, like, I think people will ask me, like, do you ever have moments where like you aren't motivated to go to the gym? And I'm like, honestly, no. Like, of course, I'll listen to my body if I'm like on my period or I'm really tired or I'm feeling sick. I won't go. But like, I don't really have a question in my head anymore of like, oh, do I want to go to the gym? Do I not want to go to the gym? Like, I go anyways, like no matter how I feel, because it's just a part of my lifestyle at this point, and I know that I'll always feel better after I move my body. And I think like in certain areas of my life, I fall short in this way. I think for me, it comes easy because I've spent a lot of years creating that discipline where I'm not really relying on motivation anymore. I'm just relying on like the actual lifestyle that I've created. But there's other areas of my life where I might need to develop stronger disciplines, that maybe it's like staying present, or like other areas where I do need to work in this way. But I think what it comes down to is like staying, because if there's anything that you want to get better at, it really all just comes down to your habits and staying consistent with it and just enjoying the process. And some practical tips on doing this, I'm going to use the example of working out and eating healthy because that's what my whole platform is about. But really, you could apply this to any area of your life, truly. But here are some examples. So you stack habits. So pair a spiritual habit with a daily one. So whether it's if you want to wake up early and go to the gym, if maybe that's your goal, to wake up early and go to the gym, you do that for 7 days. You wake up early and you go to the gym. No matter how you feel, I don't care if you feel like it or not, you just do it because you're doing it. Like, and just see what happens. Like, and this is a thing where everyone is really different. Like maybe you are an afternoon workout person. Great. Go do that for 7 days. Whatever works best for you, just do it. Like, don't like, and start small. Like, don't be like, oh, I'm going to drink all this water and go to the gym and count my macros. Like, just pick one thing and stick to it for 7 days and just see what happens. And then you can start stacking on top of each other. So for me, on the flip side of this, I'm going to use more of a spiritual example because I feel like for me, I have those habits in place with my routine, with my workouts and my eating. But for me, maybe it's, I wake up early and I listen to worship music right away and I don't touch my phone. Or I listen to worship music while I'm getting ready, or whatever it is. I am pairing a habit with a daily one that I've already have. So like if my habit or my goal is to, maybe use my phone less, or maybe it's staying in the present moment, like I'll pair something with something I already know to do. So like I always get ready in the morning. I always, make my bed or whatever it is. But like maybe while I'm doing that, I'm listening to worship music, or while I'm doing that, I'm praying or whatever it is. So it's habit stacking. And then you keep it simple. So you do 10 minutes of reading, waiting for, So instead of waiting for the perfect 1 hour window, you do 10 minutes of reading. So instead of waiting for this perfect moment where you have all this time, you have like an hour and a half to go to the gym, you say, well, I'm way too busy for that. I'm just going to do 20 minutes of an incline walk. It really doesn't have to be super hard. It could be super, super simple. And setting the tone, you tidy your space, you light a candle, and you make it kind of like your time. So like going back to the whole romanticizing your life, I think like setting an area and a space where you feel safe and where you feel comfortable and where you feel really grateful is important. Like a clean home, lighting a candle, whatever it is, playing some music that's super calming, doing your lavender, whatever, like that type of stuff is super important. And because our senses are all kind of connected to like, our emotions and, what we experience is real. So, those are just a few practical tips that you can do to kind of get better at romanticizing your life and staying consistent, developing these habits, because really all is so interconnected. And if you want to get better at romanticizing your life, for me, maybe that means staying more in the present moment. I have to get better at that. So I have to be consistent with, putting my phone down, or I have to get consistent at, taking my dog to the dog park, doing things that are going to make me more present. I have to keep doing them so it becomes more natural and I become more happy and just more present in the moment. So whatever that is for you, I would just encourage you to find a few things that you want to get better at and make you more disciplined and make you just enjoy your life more, because that's how God intended it. But I hope this episode was helpful for you guys. I hope that you take some of this and implement it into your life this week. But other than that, that's about all I've got for you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.